This is an Alternerd reality podcast.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Alternerd Reality Podcast. This is the podcast for all things nerdy, all things gaming, basically all things awesome. I'm one of your hosts, Chewburger84. And joining me, as always, some say he's a bit of an Ethan Hunt, is Hebrew Hammer. How are you, mate?
Pretty good. And it was a successful Tom Cruise reference because I have no idea what you were talking about.
Well, see, it doubles up here because not only is it a Tom Cruise character, it's also Australian rhyming slang.
Hunt. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Clever.
That's it. And featuring up in a movie coming up very soon, Turner is going to be teaming up with the lovable Hooch. How are you, buddy?
Doing all right, man. I think you're just on an impossible mission here, trying to get something that he understands.
Yeah.
It'll never work.
Well, now the challenge is on because this is going to be not a three-parter, but there'll be 3 episodes this week, ladies and gents. This will be number 1. We're going to be covering through the games we played this week, but mainly featuring on Cyberpunk. The next one's going to be about all the just insane level of nerd news that came out this week thanks to the Disney presentation. And then, of course, finishing with the massive, massive amounts of news coming out for gaming after the Game of the Year awards. Good God, boys. Is this year... I think that with all the delays... This podcast is going to be about 1,000 hours long all the way through 2022 at this point.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Basically.
Everyone's just like blown their load at the same time, but basically that's what's going on.
Yeah.
We're going to rival the amount of information that Disney released all on us yesterday.
Yeah, and now I feel like we're going to have like streaming wars too now. Like where it's like all these streaming companies are going to, get together and have investor meetings and then unleash the ridiculous amount of content they're having to try to one-up each other as well. So it's going to be...
Well, this is how it starts in all the sci-fi movies. Like, you've got one of these companies. I reckon Disney will become Weyland Yutani of the Alien universe. That'll be one big call.
Nice.
100% it's going that way. All right, let's get the shameless shilling out of the way. I'm going to go super quick this week. Folks, make sure you tell your friends about this podcast. It really helps us because we know that the advice of nerds is always carrying more weight than reviews these days. Let's be real. But for us, reviews definitely help. If you go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review, it'll help us immensely. And if you leave a comment there, we will be sure to read it out next week. If you really want to support the show, obviously we've got bills to pay with websites and hosting, blah, blah, blah. Head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/ANRpod. And of course, join the conversation, ladies and gents, over on discord.me/ANR. Boys, what a freaking week. We're not going to go into our personal lives because, we just did about an hour of that on the Patreon version of this. Some surprising takes, some real heated debates there, let's say. We got way political. I swear I spent more time talking about American politics with you guys than I probably spent all year talking about Australian politics.
There's
who cares?
I think the world spent more talking about American politics than any other politics.
All about you, isn't it?
Yeah,
Typical.
we like to be the belle of the ball. That's what America is.
Tell me, who is the Australian Prime Minister right now?
Oh, dude, I'm not even fronting. I have no clue. No clue.
The correct answer, he is a giant Ethan Hunt.
There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
He's a complete fuckwit. Anyways, not worth talking about as a summary of that story. Let's talk about the couple of games very briefly we did play before the Kraken was unleashed. I'm not talking about what is in Hooch's pants, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about Cyberpunk, obviously.
Yeah.
So, Hooch, you and I were playing some Immortals in the lead up to this release. How'd you go with that? Did you continue to play since last week?
Yeah, I played a lot more, actually. So I started to push the main story a little bit. I kind of liked where it was headed. Some of the humor in the game was still pretty funny. But eventually reached the point where I just kind of tapped out. And a lot of it was kind of where we had discussed previously last week, where the issues was you had to do that stupid search feature to find anything. I did that quite a bit and found a lot, and then ran through and found a bunch of gear. And it was a lot of fun actually doing some of that. But then I hit the wall. I despise games that purposely put in not necessarily complex puzzles, but just lengthy puzzles that require 50 steps to complete that aren't hard. They're just annoying.
Yeah.
So I reached a point into a game where I had to pick up a smaller box that was tethered to a larger box and maneuver it through the level, and the boxes would get smashed by other obstacles. I said, you know, I'm done. I can't do this right now. I did that like several times before I just got frustrated, turned it off, and I haven't gone back since, mostly because of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, and look, I hit that point way earlier than you did. I think you probably put in about 8 hours more than I did, and I played for a reasonable amount of time. But you're right, like some of those puzzles just became like Amazon Warehouse Worker Simulator 2020. It was just
Yes.
fucking shit. Yeah, no, that game has so much going for it, like that charm and whatnot early on. It's just that it was just the one thing that kept going. It's just like, how many suggestions can we get? And don't get me wrong, I appreciate this kind of humor. Like, how many times can we hint that Greeks love anal sex? Do you know what I mean? Like, you can do that for a long time. And it's accurate, but
Yes.
you know, it does wear out after a while. And when the charm goes, then you're left with the gameplay. And with so many like Breath of the Wild clones coming through, you know, recently, and obviously more Breath of the Wild stuff coming out next year, with some of the Switch rumors, I just don't think this is at the par that we need it to be. So yeah, I dropped it. I actually went back to Godfall. I found the gameplay in that more enjoyable. Not the story or voice acting. They're both very, very forgettable. But the more I got into that and the counter system and more sort of Souls-like penalties if you did fuck up, I guess I was much more finding that fun as a placeholder for Cyberpunk until it came out. So that was what it was. Now, you jumped into a little bit of WoW Shadowlands as well, Hooch.
Yes, I did actually. Got my shaman to level 58 now.
What spec did you go?
I started out with enhancement, but then moved over to elemental. Having some fun with elemental.
Nice.
I'd leveled a shaman once to max level during the Wrath of the Lich King age. And that was actually fun, so I wanted to go back and do that and not do Hunter again like I had every single other expansion.
Yeah.
It was good. I liked it. I liked some of the new stuff that they've added, but the part that wasn't really drawing me in was the story. I didn't find myself engaged.
Interesting.
And another thing that was really irritating me was just the areas, the zones were very single tone, monochromatic. It's like I went from something that the first one actually looked okay, then the next one was like it's all green, the next one's it's all blue. Like okay guys, I know you guys have more colors to work with. You've gone through, you've added ray tracing to the game, you've done all these updates to the tech
did
and
they?
the art. Yeah, they did. They added ray
There's
tracing.
ray tracing in a 16-year-old game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they've added all of these things, and the problem is that it's not really showing it off when you're just giving me these bland colors. And it still wasn't drawing me. Now, I had talked to some friends who've been playing, and I'm interested in getting to the Torghast game mode, which is the roguelike portion that I had mentioned last week.
Oh, yeah.
That seems interesting, but I have to slog through and get through the entire story first before I can even experience that. Even if I hit max level, I still have to wait. So I am interested. I will eventually go back and see that. But for now, I've just said I've kind of pushed everything to the side to be in the 2077.
Truth.
But yes, I think Shadowlands has promise. For me right now, other things are taking a priority. But I will definitely get back to it because I really want to see some of that in-game stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Did you play anything before Cyberpunk dropped, Hebrew?
I played a bit of Immortals too, and the summary of it was just that it grew very tedious in pretty much all regards very quickly. I'm still playing it a bit, but I will probably drop it pretty soon. But that I was debating potentially getting into WoW a little bit after my short stint with Cyberpunk. But I don't know if I'm going to do that now, so I'll have to wait and see. Oh yeah, but that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, interesting to hear your chat about that. Actually, the fact that you're walking away from it, I'm really curious to see what that is very shortly. Hebrew, I know that you've told this story on air before. That you once had a bad story involving a prostate exam, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
and you'd never actively volunteer for that kind of pain ever again, would you?
Fuck no. Shit was
Well,
terrible.
I did, because I went back and played the Avengers DLC this week.
Then that's on you. Mine was mandatory.
Yeah.
Yours.
I'm just like, forget the lube, let's do this. Yeah, it it hasn't changed. Look, the addition of Kate, I feel that she's animated really well. Her costumes look really good. And she has a really fun kit. And I think that you could spend quite a bit of time playing her. She's probably got about 3 specs that make sense. She's quite fun. The story that they are setting up with her seems to be very interesting, but it never got to that point. There was one quest in here that wasn't a setup. Everything they're just setting up for the Hawkeye patch, which is coming, I don't know, 2021 sometime. So...
Yeah.
The story is the only thing that has held this bare bones bag of mess together. And now that they're trying to stretch that out to try and keep people on the hook, like all the same problems are still there. The loot still sucks. There's still no endgame multiplayer. It still doesn't exist. This was supposed to be when the raids were going to drop, and they stripped that out towards the end. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll put in some hours and I'll get her up and I'll take her into the Hive, because I haven't done one of those for a long time. And I was just about to, and I saw something come through on a Reddit alert, which basically said from the company, do not take Kate into the Hive, because we just realized she actually won't get loot drops. She hasn't been coded for it. So there would have been players that informed them of that after playing, 2.5 hours of that game mode to get nothing at the end. And they said, and by the way, we'll fix that in the next major patch. Wow. So they've got a new character that you want to build excitement for. There's got to be some people that have been crazy enough to keep playing the whole time. So the only thing they have left to do is to gear out this new character to max, and you can't fucking do it. If that doesn't just, that one patch summarize a lot of what has really gone wrong at Crystal Dynamics this year, a company that I've loved just about every other project that they've done, it's so amazing to see this turn as hard as it has for this company. Because this game, it's Anthem 2.0. Like, it has that title now. And their time is disappearing so quickly, because it's been many months now. We've harped on this before. If this next patch isn't something stellar, fixed loot, end game, and then Hawkeye is obviously awesome as well with a great story, they're in real trouble. I think it's gone, especially because they're running at a financial loss so hard on this game.
I find this, honestly, it was already insulting before, but extremely insulting, absurdly insulting, because they just came out with a statement not too long ago after that news broke that they were hemorrhaging money, where they were like, we're in it for the long haul. We plan to get our customers back. We're going to be treating them right and all of this kind of stuff. And then this shit happens. So I literally fuck this game so hard, dude. I fucking hate this game.
Well, the best thing to happen to them, honestly,
fuck off,
is what is obviously the Cyberpunk controversy. Because I think that it gives them a small glimmer of hope. Because I know so many gamers that I've spoken to who aren't mental like the three of us and are playing way more video games than anyone rightfully should. And they play that one game for months at a time, especially if they're big open worlders like Cyberpunk was hyped to be. Is that, people were saying, this is the game I'm going to be playing for the next few months. Don't worry about talking about anything else on the pod, because all I'm going to be playing is Cyberpunk. You know what I mean? There were so many people like that. And I think now this has probably opened the window for a lot of people that are going to wait on Cyberpunk until it's in a shape for, current gen, for example, which we'll talk about in a sec. I think that there's a lot of companies that just got handed a get out of jail free card for at least the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks, depending on how quickly CD Projekt Red reacts to some of the things happening.
God, I don't know. If they would have maybe nailed it with this expansion, then I would say maybe, but I just can't see it happening now. It's just constant letdown after letdown.
My favorite part of this that shows they have no fucking clue about the visibility is that, how the first 6 characters that you get in that game, they said you get their full, what equates to their battle pass, right?
Yeah.
And they said after this, each one you'll have to sort of pay for or use in-game currency for. I thought for sure with everything going on with that game, they would go, it's free. They did not. It's at the full price.
Yeah. I would have never thought that they'd do that.
Crazy.
Which of greedy assholes. Yeah. Not surprised.
I'm just curious, at what point did Crystal Dynamics hire Decimal Point Jeff from Fox Next Scopely?
Right, dude? He's making the rounds. Any Marvel project, he's there, dude.
Maybe that's it, right? He's the Marvel guy.
I think he went into development for this game. I think he was, let's give you promotion.
Yeah. Oh, you guys have a chance of success? Let me come fuck that up for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's his role.
Pretty much.
I mean, the fact that you get a new character and you're not getting the quote unquote end game gear for like the longest game or event or whatever in the game, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The fact that there's not fucking raids there yet.
I know.
Literally blows my mind, dude.
When did Shadowlands came out? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And raids dropped yesterday. It's like, what the fuck?
Hold on. Destiny's release of expansion came out after, way after Marvel, and their raid came out a week later. Come on now. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
I know.
I'm not giving Crystal Dynamics any sort of get out of jail free or excuse or whatever, but you have to remember this is WoW's what number of expansion? They've got this down. They've got this process down. They know the dates, they know the cadence, everything.
I mean, how much more time do they need? I feel like forgivable, time periods to release content has way passed.
Oh, yeah. No. They've gone past the statute of limitations. Ugh. They need that raid content. In order to get any sort of goodwill to the player base, they should have had that months ago.
Yeah, and Agent Zero told me that they did finally fix the Miss Marvel skill point issue, though. So that's fine.
Oh,
it's only been forever, dude. So
I didn't see that mentioned in any of the patch notes.
No, they did mention it in the patch notes ages ago, but they didn't actually fix it. That was one of the things that pissed people off at the time, yeah.
That's right.
Oh, garbage. Garbage.
Yeah, they tried to pull in the patch notes, the old, these aren't the droids you're looking for. It was just like, but I can see the droids. They're right in fucking front of me.
Nope. No, it's not.
I do have one question for you, Chew, about what did you do with Kate? Which way did you spec her?
Well, I didn't really, just because I spent so little time. So, I got her at a level 50. So I was speccing her more of a multi-arrowed type character, but I'm finding very quickly that it doesn't really matter which of the Reigns builds you go for, because you're going to end up spending most of your time with the alt up, which cancels all the different arrow types anyway and just goes to the alt version of arrows, which just go, so I went the machine gun version of that, which is just, yeah.
I was wondering if you went that,
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, she's going to be a stun animal. It's a shame that the game's in the shape it is, because I think she's ridiculous amounts of fun for that game, I should clarify. I mean, there's definitely much better feeling characters out there. And, even Ivor in Valhalla felt significantly more powerful and cool to play than many of the Avengers specs right now. Anyway, let's talk about the giant elephant in the room. I don't think you could be a non-gamer and not have heard of this week. Cyberpunk 2077. Do you think it's the most hyped game of just 2020 or probably the last 2 years? I reckon the last 2.
Certainly the past 2 years. Without a doubt. I mean, I think you could go back to 5 years.
Well, because remember,
ever since
this
Witcher
game,
3, probably. Yeah.
It was announced, 2013 or something like that? So
fuck, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've had 7 years of hype.
But I mean, it only, whenever they started consistently releasing trailers and stuff like that, it wasn't too terribly long ago. So I would say, probably Witcher 3 was the last, huge hype train.
I don't think like this. I don't think it's been a long time since I've seen any game hyped like this. And I can tell you, you don't want to be the guy that has that much pressure on you, because unless you hit those expectations and exceed them, there's going to be nothing but disappointment. Now, don't get me wrong. This, in many ways, undershot for some people. It's incredible. The diversity of people's experience with this game. Between the three of us, we've actually got quite a few different experiences that we can talk about. But let's start with you, Hooch. You and I did the same thing, that we both started on PS5 and then started to go, where the fuck are all these sexy screenshots coming from? And then went, I'm going to buy the PC version as well. Right?
Yeah, that sequence of events was just like, I hemmed and hawed before coming in. I didn't know which direction I was going to go. But I eventually just, you know what? I want to play this on the PS5. I want to see how great it looks. It's supposed to look fantastic. And it didn't. I felt the best way to describe the visuals were hazy or muddy. They just weren't as crisp. I think maybe what had happened was I got spoiled with Miles. Because Miles Morales, even when you turned off all of the extra PS5 stuff, like the ray tracing and everything like that, looked amazing. The textures were crisp. The colors were vibrant. Everything looked great. But I just didn't feel that with Cyberpunk. It felt like I was wading through a swamp. And talking to Chu about it, we were discussing like, well, where are all these great looking screenshots coming from? Why does everything look so much better on other people's? I tweaked my console settings. I tweaked my TV settings. Nothing worked. Then he went and took the plunge and bought the PC version. And the first response was, holy shit, man, this looks amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
well, that was about
like
the half-hour nap I need to take after coming so hard because, fuck, this is the craziest thing for me is that you can have people, and we'll expand on this in a sec, who are playing it on PS4, who are saying it is dog shit visually, and it feels like a PS3 game, and with some of the screenshots, it's pretty hard to refute that. And here's me playing on my rig going, this is by far the most beautiful game world I have ever stepped foot in, right? I'm not kidding. On PC, on a decent rig, it is fucking gorgeous. What are you running at the moment? Are you finding the same thing? I didn't actually ask. You're on a pretty decent kit too, right?
I'm on so it's an AMD Ryzen 9 3900 is my processor.
Yeah.
With a GeForce 2080 Super.
So we're on the same card. So you were having the same experience as me, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everything is either at high or ultra.
Yeah.
And I mean, it does look amazing. I wish the frame rates were a little better, but I think that may be because I'm running an ultra wide resolution.
Oh, okay. That's been causing a lot of problems for games this year, especially with anything that has, even if it's not turned on, like ray tracing, seems to be really fucking with ultra wides. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So what I'm going to do at one point is try to, tweak that down to give it to a standard resolution and see what it looks like there. But when I'm running it does look great. And it's everything that I was expecting it to be on the PS5. Good crisp textures. The world feels vibrant. The lighting is amazing. The reflections are great. The game actually, to me, clearly feels like it was developed PC first. Yeah. Even with everything like the UI, the UI UX, the map navigation. Like for the first time when I played on the PC, I tapped the map and I said, "Oh, I'm starting navigating the map. I can look at all the icons. I can click on stuff." I didn't do any of that on the PS5 because it was too cumbersome. Having a cursor while trying to move with your thumbstick, it just didn't feel intuitive, or it didn't feel like
I don't know.
good
I
enough.
guess as someone that played Destiny for such a long time on PS4, to me it didn't feel that bad. But in saying that, you're right. Like once you played the PC version, there is I think they've done a pretty great job of adapting that for PS5 without reinventing everything. Like it's slick enough and everything moves in menus slick enough. And there are some things I actually find better on the PS5 than I did the PC. Like for example, when you are targeting someone with a hack, right? You've got that drop-down menu. On computer, it's just like, hey, would you like to learn how to play the piano and go from one fucking octave to the other by stretching your hand across the fucking keyboard? Because this is how you do it. Like, it's the tab button, then you got to go over to F. Like, I've never seen a game where you have to hold something down. It's making you stretch across the keyboard. That does not feel good to me. That's going to be the first thing I'm remapping, right?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
On PS5, it's like, boom. It was much slicker. So I'd say there's pros and cons to both in that regard. And I will say before I bring Hebrew in, I'm going to give CD Projekt Red a pass to an extent on our expectations of PS5. They told us this was a PS4 port. They told us that the real PS5 version is coming, and I think we set our expectations too high based on that. Yeah,
I think for me, I wouldn't have had that had I not seen Miles. That was the problem.
yeah, but it was purpose built for. Oh wait, was that on PS4 as well? I actually can't remember now. Or was it PS5 only?
Miles was PS4.
PS4 as well.
Yeah. And again, I turned off all the stuff that was supposed to be for the PS5. Right,
Yeah.
I put it in performance mode, and it still looked amazing.
Yeah, that's true. All right, hey bro, you have a very different take at the moment, I believe.
Yeah. So
Go for it.
I first put it on to the PS5. I was expecting like at least a good looking game, right? Which I think is fair. I wasn't expecting what you get on PC because I knew the PS5 version isn't coming out until early 2021, so I was okay with that. And I do expect that version to be as good as the PC on pretty much max quality for everything, because it's the PS5 is equivalent basically to like a very nice rig set up for a PC. But when I turned it on, I immediately was taken a little bit aback in the character creation screen. Like, it didn't look fantastic, but I was like, all right, not terrible though. So I did that. I gave my guy a huge dick, everything like that, like all good. Then let's stop on that point for a sec. When it said huge dick, when they said like this is the biggest dick you can have, I was feeling pretty good about myself. I was just like, I 100%
I'll take that.
agree.
I'm gonna go to my wife tonight and just say, hey babe, I got a huge dick after all.
Dude, straight up, I thought the same thing. I was like, huh. It's like, okay, like that's pretty good.
Yeah, and then we had representation. You could have Jewish penis. I could have non-Jewish penis. I thought it was a wonderful thing. I've never seen a foreskin creator before, and I was pretty happy about that.
I didn't know that was a thing actually until I got to the screen.
Well, see, me as a turtleneck owner, I think it's so important for me to have representation in cinema and video game.
Why is it that that's what people need to be fighting for right there? That's quality.
I think it's great. And the fact that you can go transgender as well, we should point that out, that you can be someone who appears to be female or male, but can have either the genitalia you would expect, the genitalia you wouldn't expect, or I think there's almost like a none option as well for one of the like the Ken bulge. They should have just put it like, if they just had have said like penis, vagina, or Ken, I would have laughed so hard. I would have been perfect.
That's funny,
Ken doll, yeah.
Then they would have had to go through and get the Barbie IP, and I don't think was it Kenner or Mattel, or one of those two who owns Barbie. They wouldn't have been like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Or just going like, go into the middle and then say trumped because the pussy got grabbed out. Yeah.
But yeah, so I went through there, and then I went corpo, by the way, and this was a difference. Did either of you go corpo?
I did.
So I went Street Kid on my PS5 playthrough. When I say playthrough, I mean I've nowhere near finished. And then I went corpo on the PC restart. Yeah.
Okay. So whenever you start up on corpo, like, do you remember what happens? Mm-hmm. You throw up, and then you look up and you see the faucet running, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, the vomit graphics, fucking terrible. Second of all, the fucking water graphics of that faucet going, the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, legit PS3.
That's a big call.
It was It was like good PS3 graphics at best.
Are you saying this is Puddlegate 2.0?
This is Puddlegate 2.0. I have an issue. Water physics and hair physics, dude. Like,
now,
those are
the hair physics were a lot better. As soon as I saw the character creator as I was changing hairstyles, I thought Hebrew's going to like this.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm not on the PlayStation, but on because one of my buddies, he has a super nice PC rig, and I was like, he was streaming it to me whenever he was going through it, and I did see it on his, and I thought that they were actually surprisingly very good.
Yeah.
So we went through there, started up the game on that corpo thing. I instantly was turned off the second I saw that. I was like, fuck, this is terrible. And so that did put a bad taste in my mouth. But as I was going through it, man, it felt horrible. Everything was taking, I mean, it didn't take forever to load, but it definitely was not like smooth. It was not a smooth experience in the slightest bit.
On the PS5?
On the PS5, yeah.
What about it specifically? Because I don't think I can agree with that.
I did not go back after I changed the settings or like I didn't go back to change the settings.
Okay.
So it was during that period whenever I started with that.
Actually, let's put that out as a PSA for anyone that is out there on next gen console. So you want to go in and turn off, what is it? Cinematic blur,
Film grain.
cinematic grain, turn off motion blur. What's the third thing?
So it's film grain, cinematic aberration, motion blur, and
turn HDR on.
I always turn off like ambient occlusion wherever I have it. What was the other one? There was another one. I can't remember what it was.
So what I found on PS5 is every time the game came back on, which is, I'll talk about that in a sec, how fucking frequently this happened, those settings would reset to default, which was a real pain in the dick hole. Like, I'm like, why does it look so shit? It's like, oh, HDR's off again, isn't it? Yep. So, yeah, it had some performance issues, but turning that off, it certainly made it look significantly better and performed better as well for the most part.
Yeah. And so, like, after I went through with that, and then there was so many bugs. There was one bug where a guy that I was fighting, his face kept alternating between fat and thin. Like, it was like, it was one of the weird, I mean, I laughed at it because it was legitimately funny, but at the same time, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And so I encountered like 3 bugs like within my first hour, and it didn't look good because I didn't mess around with the settings yet or anything. And yeah, so like, and then I just decided, I was like, you know what, I'm turning this off for now. And then I heard about everything that's happening on the PS4 version, how it's even like worse. And I was like, oh shit. And so I went and downloaded it on my PS4, and just because I wanted to see what it was like, and because I have the original PS4.
Yep.
And fuck me, dude, that thing is terrible. That picture I sent you, Cyberpunk 2007?
2007.
Yeah. So that was what I fucking downloaded, dude. It was the worst. So yeah, I mean, like, I legitimately, it did not feel like it felt like a mid-level PS4 game at best. And I think most of the time it felt like an early PS4 game to me. Yeah. For the most part. And so, and on the PlayStation 4 itself, though, it was fucking PS3 at best. Like, it was garbage. But yeah, so I hated every second of it that I played it. I eventually just got to the point where I was like, I'll just, I watched my buddy Sean, like, I just watched him play instead for a bit, because I was getting more enjoyment out of watching it with good graphics than getting frustrated playing on my own with just reminding myself that I don't have good graphics. So, like, I decided I'm going to wait until the PS5 version comes out and play it through then myself. But yeah, I would feel like shit if I just had a PS4 and I was really wanting to play this game. I would not be happy right now. So, like, I feel swindled a bit. Luckily I have the PS5, so it helps out. But this is not a game that just shouldn't have been on PlayStation 4. Like,
just wait till Christmas and then play the Xbox Series X version. Are they having similar problems?
Oh yeah.
I think all the consoles are.
Okay, because I've only been hearing a lot of, like, obviously with me, PS4, PS5, that's the only thing I've been focusing on, but I haven't really heard too many complaints about anybody playing the Xbox.
It's just the ported down versions can't run properly on the, limited hardware. And then even the hardware that's good, that can support it, because it was ported down so hard, it doesn't look good.
So then what were all those videos they were showing us before that was there saying this is running on the Xbox?
Now, this is the conversation that needs to be had, because, and a lot of people are having it, is the ones that, especially right now, I think you could make a case of hoodwinked, is the current gen, your PS4 players, especially OG PS4, not the Pro. They're saying it's Pro optimized. From what I've seen from most people, we're talking like negligible difference from people's experiences there. Not once did we ever see any footage out there at an E3 or any of their events or anything like that hinted that this was going to be the way it's going to go. And I know when it comes to marketing, you never want to show the weaknesses of your product. But when you show something playing on a ray tracing, 3080 card, I mean, fuck, when you see the opposite end of that and you're expecting that. And again, I think gamers worth their salt, would really understand that it was never going to look that way on PS4. But I don't think any of us predicted how bad it was going to look.
Yeah,
that's for sure. I mean, how does it actually play though? Because I know that obviously it's really easy to shit on the graphics, but on that PS4 experience, did you actually do much of that running around pew pews type stuff? Or
yeah, I mean, it felt good. Like that part of the experience is definitely okay. Like it's hard for me to separate the experience, but like, yeah, like that was okay to me. It's just the bugs also coming through like quite often was very frustrating as well. So. The whole experience was just really bad to focus on like any good because it's put between so many bad things. But yeah, I mean I feel really bad, especially for the people who aren't really searching like the game news and stuff like that, and like saw it come up on like PlayStation 4 like pre-order your copy of Cyberpunk today. And like, oh shit, this game looks really cool. Looked at the trailers and stuff like that. And we're like, oh cool, I'm gonna get this. And then they load it up on their PS4 and it looks like dog shit. Like,
it's pretty hard to miss this news, dude. Like I've seen it on multiple news websites because obviously it's such an evolving story. So there was 2 massive announcements back to back. So number one was that all the costs of this game were recovered on pre-orders alone. So CD Projekt Red is at a profit already. No real surprises there. The reason that is incredible news, though, is that we knew that there was so much crunch and overtime, and we don't know exactly how bad the conditions might have been, but we know there was a lot of stress with the development team on this to get this out, right? And obviously now we can see why. But they're in a profit-sharing scheme there. So if the game does do really, really well, the people that spent 7 years of their life are actually going to get a chunk of change, right? So you want it to be financially successful. Now, off the back of the reviews that started coming out, the CD Projekt Red's share price has started to take a little bit of a bump down. Then when we started to see the widespread bugs and the PS4 and OG Xbox for this generation start to really, really come out and Twitter lit up and then news websites are picking up the story, they dipped 37% on their share pricing since Cyberpunk this week. Yep.
Wow.
Damn.
So the game is doing incredibly well, but their share pricing has tanked. And it's dropping significantly. Like when I first put this in the show notes yesterday, it was at like 29% down. It was at 37% this morning. So they are getting slammed. Like, if this was just in the gaming community and it was us being petty little bitches because it didn't play the way we wanted it to, it wouldn't affect the stock price because, people that invest in these companies normally aren't necessarily, gamers themselves. But it is that big an event. It was a gaming event that this thing was supposed to be. That I do feel bad for them because that hype is hard to live up to. And when you do have a buggy release like this, I mean, I was averaging, and I played a lot of hours on the PS5, one complete drop to home screen crash at least once an hour during my playthrough. Which I think was around 15 hours in the end on the PS5 before I pivoted to PC. And I enjoyed it, but I didn't really know what I was missing out on until I booted up that PC version. Because holy shit. And that's the real shame of it, is that when you have played this game the way that it's supposed to be, Hooch, I'll get your version of this in a sec, but I fucking love it. I mean, the way this world looks, the detail, like when I look up at an apartment building in the shittier part of town, which I still haven't left, by the way, because I've done maybe 4 missions in the main story. And I'm just like, I'm happy just being this guy that goes around just obsessed with cash because I came from nothing. And it's just like, oh, the cops are going to give me money if I go and kill some people that are causing a raid? Yeah, sure. All right, I'm going to go and do this for a bad guy because he's paying me money? Fuck yeah. I love the world. I love the characters. I love the side quests. I love all of it. I love this world. But when I look up at these skyscrapers, the older style apartment blocks, and I see the carbon scarring from the exhaust fumes that you see when you're in parts of town like that. I remember it especially when I was in the UK. Those little things, they are there and they are everywhere. There is so much love painted on the canvas of this world that I cannot help but appreciate it. It is fucking incredible. But it breaks my heart that so few people out there right now get to play that game because of the combination of obviously not performing the way it should on next-gen console, and even then, the limited availability of those consoles too. Like, let's be real, a lot of people are playing it on PS4 or current-gen Xbox because they have to. They don't have another option.
Right.
And God forbid you want to buy a PC right now, because get fucked. Graphics cards, when the 3 Series got announced as how powerful they were going to be, for NVIDIA especially, and some of the new RTX cards, they got sold out really fast. Or in a video I showed you guys before, people are just actively stealing them now by like pulling off Fast and the Furious style heists out of the back of a truck. Like, that video is amazing. Anyway, and what that's done is led to a massive demand. People are like, but I need to play fucking Cyberpunk. So you've seen this massive increase of high-end PCs go out this year. And the pricing on like what is now older graphics cards, like the card that we have, Hooch, like the 2080 or the 2080 Ti's, they're like triple the price of what they were at their peak. And you're like, how does this happen? So that leaves this wonderful experience that very, very few gamers, as a percentage of people that are playing Cyberpunk right now, are going to have. And that's what's going to dominate the review scores, is that when you see this the way it was meant to be seen, it is honestly one of the favorite game worlds, and I'm nowhere near finished playing the game, obviously, or the story, but it's one of the favorite game worlds I've ever been. Like, when I see people up close in conversations talking on the PC, I don't know if you found this, Hooch, but I was blown away. I don't think I've seen characters better animated. Oh, sure, there's some visual bugs. Every now and again, a pair of tits will pop through a shirt, or a dick will pop out a pair of pants. I find that hilarious because I played Skyrim for such a long time. That shit just kind of happens sometimes, right? It's like I'm getting punted to the moon by a troll. So, I am very much in love with this game. But would I be coming in being so raving about it the way I am had I still been playing it just on PS5? Probably not.
No, I have to agree with you. I definitely would not have the same affinity for the game if I had stuck with the PS5 version.
Yeah.
PS4
version on PS5.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The PS4 version. Once I switched over, I experienced many of the same things you did. There was just an immediate attraction to the world. You wanted to explore it. You wanted to roam around and find all the things. You wanted to walk around and be like, hey, so there's an active robbery going on over here. I'm going to go stop that and make some money. I wanted to just find as much as I could, wander into the crevices and the alleyways and see all the stuff that was there, find all of the random missions that you just, get close to, and your fixer goes, hey, I'll do this thing for me now that you're close to this area. So it just felt more like a living, breathing world, and you wanted to explore it and you wanted to be a part of it as much as possible. I especially loved seeing some of the really heavily cybernetic guys. Yeah. Like the level of detail that they had when you get some of them and you can see like the skin decay near the cybernetics where that discoloration comes in. It was a heck of those textures. And you're right. When it comes to the animations for just the facial features, you see a lot more of the emotion being played out with things like, eye glances, their eyebrows and facial expressions, and, the muscles on their faces. Just you could look at somebody and say, oh, this person has an inquisitive kind of look rather than just staring at me blankly. Yeah. That they're more expressions. And then it just looks much better. And then the voice acting helps as well. But yeah, I fully agree.
I don't know any of the names of the people that are doing this, but can I say that the voice acting has been phenomenal? But I will say this, is that I find the guy's voice much more appealing in this one than the girls. Because they both play it the same way. It's kind of that real badass, like low tone kind of thing. And there's just something about, because now I've heard it word for word for many hours of overlap. I just find that like the guy's voice so far has a lot more emotion. I haven't come up to the first big, really emotional moment for my character though. You probably know the point that I'm talking about in my second playthrough. At the end of Act 1. Did you get that far?
No, I'm still you. I'm still in the early crappy zone, wandering around. I think I just did. So on my console playthrough, I pushed the story mode to almost the point like there was an option where you could take on a mission. You had 2 separate directions you could go. I was actually finishing the second portion of that. I hadn't even done that on the PC playthrough because I went and did so many other things, and I've spent equal time on each platform. So it just like more supports that. I wanted to spend more time and experience and see more things on the PC version because I felt like I was actually seeing more of what the game was supposed to offer.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it stands now. I think that like we've said, is that this, to me, now that I've played it the way it feels like it should be, is that I can't help but recommend that everyone gets this game, but with the caveat of don't do it now unless you have a great PC or a next-gen console. Wait for the new version, because I don't want you to waste your playthrough with what's happening now. Just... those little things that take you out of this world are so jarring because this world is so much fun to be in. Like, I don't think I've yelled the word fuck when I had a crash more in a long time than I have in this game, because it was like, dude, there was like a really cool moment. I was in a side story. It's like, fuck, when did I save last,
You said you had a crash every hour. I thought I was bad. I had 4 in like 12 hours of playing. But the fact that you're not just locking the game up. I mean, it's a hard crash of the system OS. Yeah. That's not supposed to happen.
No, not on a new console.
Not at all. No.
Well, in saying that, remember I said to you that I had like 3 or 4 crashes in Miles as well. Godfall is the only thing I played on my PS5, hilariously, that I never had an issue with at all. Right? And it's like the most shit on game of the next gen so far. Well,
I never had one with Miles at all. I think maybe one time, but it's either one or nothing, and it just was a straight up crash. But with this, I mean, like I got 3 in an hour, maybe an hour and a half tops, but only one of them was like a hard reset. The other one was like just like weird fucking but very obvious bugs in the game.
Yeah, I had one. I mean, I had several, but one of the ones that was kind of interesting was. I reached the point where I was trying to complete a quest, and I couldn't because it wouldn't go to the next step, even though I had clearly done what the requirement was. But the most interesting bug I had, and I mentioned it in Discord, was I was running through a mission, and I ran across the enemies, took a shotgun, shot one dude into a cement pillar. His head is literally in the pillar, and his body is dangling.
Yep.
And as I'm wandering through, I'm still hearing somebody screaming at me obscenities in Spanish, and it's the guy. He's still he wasn't alive, but he was still yelling at me. So then I was like, okay, fine, maybe he is still alive. So I shot off his arms, his legs. That's the other thing. They've got dismemberment in the game, and it's pretty gory.
Yeah. Especially with the swords. I've decapitated a few dudes. Yeah.
So I did that, and I shot him and kept going about my business, but he was still screaming at me in Spanish. So, exactly.
You cut off my head.
That's pretty fucked up, man.
that was an interesting bug. One of the most frustrating bugs that I keep coming across, though, is the inability to interact with something if it's fallen underneath another object or it's fallen too close to another object. Okay. I can't get that cursor or hit that hitbox or whatever for that item.
Have you tried using video game logic for that and just throw a grenade at it?
Yeah, I've tried to do all sorts of things. There was one time it was underneath a car. I moved the car, ran over a bunch of pedestrians, got out, and then picked up the stuff that I wanted. But there were other things, like it's underneath a fence that I can walk to either side of the fence, but I can't grab that item. Right. Or there was one that was underneath a body. I picked up the body, the item disappeared. So it's like, wait, what? So small things like that are not like super like detracting, but they're frustrating.
I gotcha.
One of the weirdest ones I saw also was as I was loading from a save. There's a part where a group of people were in a car and they were driving away. And as the save loads, they're all standing up, which means they're all standing through the car. Then they they immediately jump to dropping down and sitting, and they drive off. It was just a humorous visual bug that I think I want to save that save file so I can load that up and just see that repeatedly.
Yeah, I think PS5, the crashing issue was the biggest one for me. I had one where, twice this actually happened. One where I couldn't do damage in one particular quest, where like you literally couldn't kill these things. So I had to sneak through to the objective and then sneak a guy out of like a prison without killing anyone. So it was like the fact that I could still do it was good. But the fact that was a pain in the dick. And the other one was kind of along the same lines of you, Hooch, where I had killed these two people by stealthing up and like choking them out. So I knew they were dead because I broke their necks, right? And then the mission wouldn't finish. And then I could keep targeting those two. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So, basically I threw grenades at them because splash damage killed them. So that worked. But what was interesting to me is that same mission had a very similar issue on the PC. So the same issue actually was on both platforms.
Wow, that's interesting because I haven't run across any of the same issues yet.
Yeah, and without spoilers, what's your favorite quest you've done so far?
Without spoilers.
So you can, if it's main quest, do a abridged. If it's like a random side quest, you can give a brief overview.
The random side quest, I would say the cheetah. I don't know if anybody has seen that one, but I had to rescue the cheetah.
Nice.
That one was interesting because at the end I just made a break for it in the midst of all the mayhem. Jumped in, ran over everybody, and took off screaming.
So if you've done that part right next to that, did you get the guy with the cybernetic fault?
No.
Okay, so
I don't think I.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I did that one because there was something I was going to do later.
It's honestly one of the shortest quests in the game. There is a guy who starts screaming at you to pull over because he's just running out of a building with his pants off holding his dick. And he has a cybernetic implant in his penis that is failing, and you need to get into a medical facility. That's literally the whole fucking quest. Is that you speeding across. And it's one of those hilarious things where like you're driving and then like a massive amount of kids start trying to cross the road. And so the game forces you to slow down the car because it won't let you run down the children. And this guy's just like, fuck him, just run over him, just go. And then you get up to the next thing and there's like a police blockade. So it just keeps giving you this comedy of errors of why the drive's taking longer. Like there's a lot of little beats like that and little notes of humor like there was in The Witcher. It's very dark humor, but I fucking love it. So
it's hilarious. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, and the lore of this game as well. Like, I don't know if you've read too many of the little things that you pick up, but there's so much that they're doing to flesh this world out. And I really hope that they get some of these issues resolved for the people that aren't having as much fun as we are at the moment. Yeah. And understandably, because I want them to keep investing in this world. Like, I want there to be the 3 kinds of expansions that they gave The Witcher 3, because they were truly wonderful expansions and storylines. And I want to spend more time. I mean, I've probably got 85% of the game left to go on the PC playthrough. And I already know that's not going to be enough for me. Like, I'm going to want more, even if the story, falls off a cliff. So I really dig it, man.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, like, that's why I just made the decision to, I'm just going to play it whenever the PS5 version comes out, because I just don't want to go through with the experience that I currently have with this game. So, yeah. I wish that they just would have... Go ahead.
I was going to say, look, and it's a good point to make, is that we don't have to worry about... Because you always have caution, right, when it's a developer that you love. You don't want to say, look, don't buy this game now, wait until it's fixed. Because you don't want them to get fucked financially, so that never happens. But we know they've already made their money on the game. Like, they've already started to turn a profit. So, like, delaying when you get this game, I don't think is going to hurt, especially if it means you're going to play it the right way. So,
yeah. I would hate for somebody to come in and pick it up and have some of the experiences we did and then just have it completely ruin the experience so they never come back to the game, because there is a lot in there that's just fun and interesting.
Yeah. But
absolutely,
it is what it is. But it's definitely like I'm still excited to play it. But yeah, I do feel a bit swindled. I can't even imagine what people that have the PS4 like original and only have that feel like right now. I feel
or the original Xbox, right?
Or the original Xbox. Yeah, any of the OG consoles. OG versions of the consoles, I should say. Yeah, I feel really fucking bad for them right now, especially those that are not connected really to gaming news sources and like really don't like look up shit too much. They're just like, oh, this is cool, I'm just gonna pre-order this, and then they're probably wondering what the fuck is going on right now. So, and
the game was so super hyped that you couldn't get away from seeing ads and stuff for it. So
yeah, it's
there are people out there that are like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh wow, the game just came out. I totally want to get this. So
Yeah.
I think what's worse though is the people that aren't going to get it until Christmas. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a Christmas gift for them, and I'm just, I hate to feel that their Christmas is going to be ruined by playing a game
saying that we're
ready.
talking nearly 2 weeks from the day of this recording, which is the 12th, right? That like they could patch a lot of things in that time. Like graphical performance, sure, probably not, but if they could fix a lot of the gameplay issues that are plaguing people who don't, necessarily hate where it's at graphically, if they don't really give a shit. That's a lot of time to get some stuff done, whether they will or not, coming from post-crunch and rolling into Christmas in a year that has a fucking pandemic, let's be real. And that part of the world, too, by the way, is in rough shape with coronavirus, too. So, yeah, man, it's an interesting couple of weeks for them. I really feel for them because I can see the love that went into this. Like, I really can. And I want them to have every success. And I think they'll do the right thing. They have in the past, and I think they will again. I mean, remember, Witcher 2 was a janky fucking mess that had some of the worst combat I ever fucking saw in a video game on launch. And that's saying something with, like, Skyrim launches. It was pretty bad. And they turned that around to a point and then came back with Witcher 3, just really polishing that into what that game is supposed to be. So, yeah. Any final thoughts on Cyberpunk 2077? Otherwise, we'll wrap up part 1 of this week's just marathon of podcasts.
Yeah, that's good for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
All right. Very good. All right. So thank you to all of you for listening to this episode. Thank you much to our patrons. We're going to be doing our patron shout out after the final episode this week. Although you guys might be listening to this in one giant fucking 6-7 hour podcast stint. Who knows? So keep an eye out for your names there. Thank you to all of you supporting us, especially as we get closer to Christmas. We really appreciate it. Thank you to all of you for listening, sharing, liking, subscribing. Discord.me/ANR if you want to join the chats. Patreon.com/ANR pod if you want to help out the show. I've been Shoebaker84. Thanks to Hebrew Hammer.
Yep, no problem.
And thanks to the Hooch.
Anytime. Great.
And Pike, I hope that thrush clears up for you soon, buddy. All right, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.